Welcome guys, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how to awaken your superpowers on retention. Now, I want to make it clear that when we're talking about superpowers, these are just extrasensory perceptions that every human has access to, but because we live such debaucherous lives, we're not even able to truly tap in to certain energy, which means we're not able to truly sense things, right, as we are meant to. And so, what I'm going to be going through is going to be kind of cutting out some myths and then some protocols that I use that's helped me awaken myself to some things that are a little more etheric, right? Which is very practical because it helps me to make better decisions. It's helped me when it comes to communicating with people, especially communicating with women. Now, if you guys are trying to be, fully celibate your entire lives, right, you may not even really need some of these things. But if you guys are really engaging in life, you want success, you want power, right? You want a relationship, you want children, but at the same time, you're not trying to fall off of this practice. It's actually critical that you do wake up your extrasensory abilities, because when you've kind of tapped in to this level, you're not, it's very hard to even want to go back, right? Like there's a certain things I will not do, right? Like even in my relationships, I'm never gonna be just there releasing and all of these things, because at the end of the day, I just feel so much better, right? So let's start off with some of the myths around these superpowers that you develop. Firstly, they're not magical, right? We're talking about clairsentience, clairaudience. These are things, right, that humans have had access to for all eternity, right? Like the ability to know when someone's looking at you or when someone's, for example, directing malintent towards you. This is just an ability that we have. And also, one of the biggest myths that I want to dispel straight away is that when you've developed, let's say for example, your animal magnetism, right, which is one of the superpowers because people will be attracted to you, for us to think that everybody will be attracted to us, this doesn't happen. What happens is that you attract what is aligned to your frequency. And so you actually repel things that are not aligned to your frequency because you start to create real boundaries in your life. Sorry. So let's get into it. I'm going to be giving you some really good tips, right? It's all going to be practical, right? It should be accessible to almost everybody. Like most of these tips are actually going to be free, right? Outside of normal living life, right? And then I'm going to give you at the end one hack if you really want to supercharge your powers, but it will be a double-edged sword because it's that powerful that it can backfire if used incorrectly. But before I get into actually, let's talk about, right, why we retain, right, and then what is actually happening when we retain, because then we'll go into like the superpowers, because I want you guys to really understand that this is not some mystical woo-woo thing that's given to you by some god or deity because you are following certain laws, right? Retention is a biological process that is happening within us. So what is it, right, and why does it work? So when you're retaining, it's a bit like when you're fasting, your body actually feels unsuccessful, right? Because your biological imperative is to replicate your DNA. So when you're retaining, what happens is the body upregulates itself. It makes you more attractive. It puts you in a state where it becomes easier for you to attract and seduce a mate, right? All of the abilities like the, becoming stronger, the pheromones that come through your sweat and all of these things, right? It is there to help you to attract a mate, right? And the same thing happens with your superpowers, right? So it's important when you're on this journey that you recognize a lot of these things are biological. They are not esoteric in the sense where, you know, you're tapping something, some being is giving this to you. We are it already. This is a biological response to a stressor that you're putting on your life. So let's go into what to do, right? If you want to supercharge and activate your superpowers. Now, as we all know, retention for a minimum of a month, minimum is requirement, right? It doesn't need to become a lifestyle. But if you're new to this and you're starting off, you need to really kind of be aiming, right, to hit like the 30 days if you really want to see the results, right? And when I'm talking about hitting the 30 days, it's not just with retraining, it's also with purifying the mind. Because if the mind is always thinking about sex, and you're allowing yourself to ruminate, because obviously we're living life, right? Everybody has lustful thoughts, but you should be able to stop those lustful thoughts in, I'm talking about seconds, like if not a second, straight away it comes. Yeah, observe it, put that into something creative, because it's not about repression, it's about redirection, right? So remember, that's a prerequisite to this, right? It's a lifestyle. The longer you go, the the easier it is to activate these powers, right? That you develop. And eventually, when you go long enough, some of them just become permanent. It just becomes a part of your personality, your being, right? You've just had access to it, especially if you're doing a lot of qigong and then you activate your back and front channels. The energy generally just flows as long as you are, you know, practicing, right? You're not just willy-nilly releasing that. We can't go there, right? That is old news. This is a lifestyle. You don't need to count days, but you know that, if you're starting off and you're new, you need to go to a minimum of a month to even start to cultivate the power, right, in the lower centers for it to pressure up. So boom, let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of all of this, right? Because I want to give you guys some hacks. Now, if you guys don't want to do any of these things or don't want to do all of these things, that's fine, right? This is just information. But don't jump in the comments and try to say, oh, this doesn't work. Try it out for 30 days, right? And if you do these things for 30 days, you will see real change, right? Because just retaining is not enough. It's weird when we go online and people act like retaining in and of itself means anything. You can just be unsuccessful with women, right? Not have access to the internet and end up retaining for 30 days. That is a normal occurrence. I'm quite sure for a lot of people. So we have to be intentional. We have to understand that that is just the foundation, but there's other things that we need to do. So one of the first things, right, that I would say is cold exposure. I take cold showers, so I don't use any hot water in my showers anymore. And what that is doing is calming my nervous system, and it's helping my nervous system understand, right, that it can deal with pressure, right. And it's also what's the word, toning the vagal tone as well, which helps with getting a deeper voice, other things like that, right. So cold exposure is so key, right, because again, a lot of these things are happening in the nervous system. If you don't have energy in the nervous system, your nervous system is feeling stressed, then at the end of the day, it's not going to have the power required to tap into the higher senses. And everybody has different higher senses that they tap into, different superpowers. Okay. The second thing, strength training. Now, you can do that in the Western way, you can do it in the Eastern way. I have a mix of both. I do mobility training, right? And at the same time, I also like to go to the gym and lift heavy ass weight. I do both, right? But that's just me. Find whatever you want to do to build your trainers, whether it's calisthenics, right, or whatever. Just make sure that you're doing things that is pushing your body to produce testosterone, right? Because that is very important, because that is what goes into your aura. Remember, these are stress responses. Not too much stress so that you're producing a lot of cortisol, but enough that your body needs to produce testosterone. Second, no, third, I should say, and this one is controversial for a lot of people, because a lot of people, this is about like the foods that we eat. I would say make sure that you are pretty much eating like enough protein, enough cholesterol. Like, I would even say go carnivore. Like, going carnivore for me, right? I mean, so I was maybe what 2 months in at the point when I went carnivore, and within a week, I'd never felt better. And I started to tap into, like, it was, it's hard to put this into words, right? Because it's a feeling. So it's kind of like I've started to sense when people are looking at me and like what their intentions are. And I feel like this is just because of like, there's not much in my gut, because I also fast as well, which, brings me over to the next point as well, is fasting. No, making sure that you're fasting, making sure that throughout extended periods of your day, week, and month, and year, right, that you are not consuming, you're allowing the body to eat what is in it. And this is why I think this pairs really well with the carnivore diet. This is also a good time for me to mention I am not a doctor. So if you're changing your diet in any way, you're going with fasting in any way, make sure that you contact your doctor first. Okay. Now, what I have found, right, with these things, and I'm going to give you the hack next, right? But what I found with these things is that it puts a very nice pressure on the body, which forces the body to evolve, right? So with the fasting, for example, after you fast for a certain amount of time, it completely resets your dopamine, it raises human growth hormone, right? When I'm on a carnivore diet, for example, my brain is typically using ketones. I do eat fruit, by the way, that's just random. But fruit really does well for me, right? Especially if I'm going to the gym. Yeah, like, I eat a lot of fruits. Well, I say a lot, but I eat fruit 1 meal a day. And then what that's now done for me, it's helped my brain become a lot clearer. And that's also helped me to make more, like, clear decisions, to know what it is that I need to do, right? Because sometimes, for example, I'll be like, okay, I'm meant to be online, I'm meant to be posting. There's sometimes like, no, and there's other things I need to be doing in person, and then I'll go somewhere randomly looking for some form of business deal, and I meet up with someone who owns a cafe, and they're like, yeah, do an astrology reading in person. And then, we put that out, and in the first day we start making sales. There's just a lot of synchronicities that start to happen, because when you start to see, hear, and operate on a higher level, right, which is where these superpowers come from, right, is where the animal magnetism comes from, and people are just attracted to you, right? Things are just attracted to you, money's just attracted to you, right? It really does change your life and your way of being. And when you reach these levels, right, when you're starting to experience these things, you don't want to go back. It's not, it's not hard for me now. Like, I have conquered my lust. Like, it's not hard for me. There's nothing there for me for pleasure. Like, I don't eat for pleasure. Do you know what I mean? Like, the things that are pleasurable to me, right, are more things when it comes down to the results that I'm getting. Now, let me give you the hack, right? And this, like I said, especially if you're starting off, don't try this at the beginning, right? Because it can take you completely off. But that is, speak to women, network with women, develop relationships, right? Not sexual, but develop relationships with women, right? Because two things are going to happen when you do this, in my experience, right? Again, I could be completely wrong, but hey, who knows, right? We're all here to experience life and test out. Some women are really going to like you and you friend zone them, right? Which has a benefit for them as well, because they're meeting a different caliber of man, meaning that they will know that there's different type of men out there, right? Now, that's their benefit, the benefit to society, like, you can protect children, other things like that. But the benefit for me is that it really helped me to calm my nervous system whilst dealing with lust. So for a very long time, when I was retaining, right, what would happen is that when I'm then communicating with women, especially when I started off, like, my first couple of years, when I'm communicating with women, because I was kind of isolating from women, because I was kind of afraid of my lust, women can sense that, and it's not really attractive. And do you know what I mean? With men, right, we want to be attractive to women, we want to find a mate, hopefully, right? And then it also meant when I got into relationships, there was always this battle, right? But when I started to kind of network with women, I have a lot of female friends, a lot of male friends. I just have a lot of friends in general, right? It just helps to ground yourself whilst you're retaining, because it's not, you're not avoiding certain things. And then this also allows you, like for example, if you do start looking for a partner and other things like that, right? You're not gonna come across as some neek when you're trying to talk to a woman, because let's say if you are retaining, right? We want to be with 10 out of 10s if we're going to get with someone. Like, let's be real. What is the point, right, of retaining for even just a 90-day period, right? Like, let's say you do 90 days and then you get with a woman and she's a 4 or a 5. What was the point? At the end of the day, you deserve a 10 after retaining for such a long time, right? But that will not just happen from retention. It's not a magic pill, right? All of the abilities that you develop will help you to be able to communicate with the 8, 9s, and 10s, the ones that might make you guys feel a little bit nervous, right? You'll be able to communicate with them at a higher level, which is attractive to them. But if you are nervous because you've completely avoided women, you're not playing in the game of life, right? You're just there like, I'm just retaining every day. I'm not doing anything, counting the days, waiting for 30 days, waiting for some woman to come to you. God can send you your wife. It could be a wife that came into your life, right? And you just fumble it. You just let it go. You just drop it. Because you're not used to communicating with women anymore, right? Women are not the enemy, bro. They are the best things that we were given on this planet. And any purpose-driven man knows this, right? When I'm on my purpose, I'm doing my videos, I'm making sure I'm doing events, I'm trying to do my readings. Some of the greatest assistance and support I have received has been from women. Because unlike men, they're not trying to compete with me, right? They're just trying to pour into me because I'm pouring into them, and they understand my vision and my purpose, and then they submit to that, and then they help me on my journey. So that is a hack. It supercharges your energy. Like, I can't, it's very hard to put a lot of these things into words, because again, we're talking about things that really are non-physical. They really are felt senses, right? So I'm not going to try. But what I would say is try this out for 30 days, right? Especially if you're already retaining, like you're already on this journey, right? Just try these things out, yeah? Which is making sure you're fasting, you're exposing yourself to cold, your strength training, also stretching as well. That's really good. Release tensioning in the hips. Like, you're doing all of these things. Do it for 30 days and come back to me. Put a comment in this chat and let me know, right? Like, even if you don't agree with it, just let me know. And you will see the benefits. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And last but not least, you are perfect by design.